Okay, I think we are going to go ahead and get started. People are still filing in to the event, but I think in an effort to respect everyone's time, let's go ahead and get started. Hello, welcome, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Harold Dyke, founder of Silect Software, and thank you so much for joining us today. We're very excited to be here with you to talk about a couple of new releases that we are making, MP Studio version 12 and the Silect Operations Portal version 2.0. I do see a lot of customers on today's call, which is great. Thank you so much for coming out. I see a lot of people that, well, I don't recognize the names or organizations, so a lot of people that are new to Silect as well, and thank you for joining us, and we welcome you to today's session. We're targeting today's event to be about 45 minutes long or so, which gives us lots of time for questions. It would be, we do encourage interaction, so if you do have questions as we move along, please do use the Teams chat window. Mike, Daniel, and Jacob from Silect are all on board to answer any questions that you may have, either during the sessions or towards the end of the session if you wish to wait. This is being recorded as well, so if you need to drop off for whatever reason, recording will be made available to you. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. We're, again, very excited to be here today to talk about our new releases. And just wanted to, by way of an agenda, wanted to give you a little bit of history on particularly MP Studio and the releases that we've been through, how we sort of got to where we are today. It was an interesting exercise to look back on the number of releases we've made. We've been at this a long time and have made a number of major releases. We've had some, really great ideas that have worked its way into the product. We've had some that maybe weren't as successful as others, but we'll sort of give you some highlights along the way before we get into what we're really focused on today, which is the new release version 12 of MP Studio and version 2 of the Silect Portal. So I will give an overview of the products for those of you not as familiar with either product. I will give a brief overview of each of those products and show you, probably spend a lot more time in demos than we will on slides. And then we'll drill into the specifics of what's new in both of the products. And really what we hope you see as you listen to our content, as you see the demos that we're presenting today, is we're really making efforts to simplify SCOM. As we all know, SCOM is complex. It's a pretty steep learning curve to get familiar with SCOM and all the sort of the ins and outs of the product. And our goal here at Silect is to really help simplify that experience, help simplify setting up SCOM, setting up monitoring, setting up the monitoring of new applications or services through the SCOM migration wizard to be able to move from one SCOM environment to another. Perhaps you're considering SCOM MI and ease that transition to that new environment. To simplify the operation of SCOM, there's a lot of sort of care and feeding that takes place with SCOM. And we're hoping some of our tools and some of the automation capabilities in particular that we provide help with simplifying some of those ongoing tasks. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. As I was looking at the history of the products, I dug out this artifact. So this is sort of the first artifact that I had easily had access to anyway, about MP Studio at the very inception of the product. And as you can tell from this very poorly designed data sheet that we were talking about, Mom, this is back in 2004. So this is 20 years ago now. And of course, it was before it was SCOM, it was Microsoft Operations Manager. And and obviously a lot of things have changed. We had the idea of a visual designer for SCOM. We had the idea of a profiling service. None of those really came totally through to fruition. But what was interesting back then, 20 years ago, and still today, we're talking about the importance of management packs and really the true value of SCOM. I think what we have found, I think what a lot of our customers find, is the true value is in the management pack, is in all that codified knowledge that Microsoft and other vendors deliver. And really important to SCOM, obviously, are the management packs. And as well, what we touched on in this very, very early data sheet was the complexity of working with management packs and designing them and developing them, and really stressing the importance of having non-developers be able to create management packs, to be able to create effective monitoring configurations for their applications, services, and infrastructure. So thought that I would share that interesting little tidbit with you all. As we look at the release history of MP Studio, I won't go into the details of each of these releases, but 2005 we had our first commercial release. In 2016, with version 7, we moved into what I would describe as the first fully integrated development environment, where we included all the authoring capabilities along with a testing harness with a version control system to provide really a more complete development experience for people working with management packs. Version 8 in 2017 was a big milestone because we introduced fragments. And we can actually today continue to build on fragments and fragment support within both the MP Studio product as well as the Silect portal. And fragments, if you're not aware, is simply a little bit of XML that represents a SCOM workflow, and it can really simplify the authoring experience as well as the maintenance for those management packs. Version 10, we introduced something called an MPF, which is an intermediary file format for management packs. It uses fragments, but makes it easier to work with the parameters required by fragments to be able to build a management pack, and we'll touch on that today as well. Version 11, introduced in 2022, sort of represents an important milestone. Not only were we supporting the newest versions of SCOM coming out, but was really, I think, the first time that we began to introduce other technologies and other solutions for things not necessarily directly related to a management pack. And more specifically, we introduced the SCOM Explorer, which I'll show you briefly today, which helps you troubleshoot SCOM and look for things in SCOM and find out things about relationships in SCOM, and the Migration Assistant, which is a great way to move from one SCOM environment to another in a side-by-side upgrade scenario. And then, of course, today we're talking about version 12, which includes some great new visualizations, some great dashboards, but we continued as well to evolve that management pack editing and authoring experience, and we made some improvements in those areas as well. So let's just do an overview of the products before I jump into a demonstration of the products, just to give you a sense of what kind of they're all about. MP Studio, of course, historically we've been known for authoring and tuning management packs, whether it's Windows, Linux, SNMP. We do so much more with MP Studio than simply authoring, including version control, override management, the SCOM Explorer with the troubleshooting piece, SCOM migration, some new dashboards that we're introducing today. Last week I attended an event, SCOMathon, where one of our customers was describing a management pack that he had developed. And he talked about the benefits of using MP Studio at every stage of the management pack, either development or even with management pack upgrades, to be able to use the version control capability, to be able to use the offline editing capability of MP Studio, to be able to analyze, tune, edit, even before deploying to a test environment. He found it very valuable to use the MP Studio environment to work with that management pack. And of course, today we're introducing some new dashboards, including some Power BI dashboards. So MP Studio has really evolved, from those earliest days, even that data sheet I showed you earlier from 20 years ago. It's really evolved from an MP tool to a toolbox that offers much more than just working with management packs. And it really is, as our customers are telling us, becoming a more and more of essential tool to help them with many other aspects of working with their SCOM environment. And again, really our efforts are to further simplify that experience every step of the way. The Silect Portal, which is the other product that we're launching today, the version 2.0 of the Silect Portal, also provides that authoring experience, version control capability, lots of reports in terms of looking at SCOM workflows or looking at MP contents, but it also introduces some self-service capabilities. And so, another way to kind of simplify working with SCOM is to allow stakeholders to be able to manage some of their own things, whether that's notifications, whether that's maintenance schedules, whether that's even management pack and management pack tuning. And so we're going to show you sort of how that might look in some environments and how we can help with delivering some of those self-service capabilities. And again, the new version of the Silect portal has some great new reporting and dashboarding features in it as well. And lastly, I'll touch on something that we introduced in preview mode earlier this year, which is the Silect Cloud, which is really a managed instance version of the Silect portal, providing authoring, tuning, version control reporting. It's available free of charge at cloud.silect.com. So if you want to get sort of acquainted a little bit with our portal technology, with the methodologies that we've developed for managing authoring management packs, managing overrides, editing, some of those self-service capabilities as well, check out the Silect Cloud. Okay, so as promised, let's get into some demonstrations of the products. I am going to turn off my camera for this because it's one less thing I have to look at. So here we're looking at MP Studio. And again, just to provide you with sort of a quick-ish overview of the MP Studio product. Really at the heart of MP Studio is this thing we call the store, which is the management pack database. As you can see here, it consists of a number of different folders, which is completely user customizable. That contains the management packs that we're working with, whether those are management packs that we've backed up from a SCOM server, whether it's sealed management packs from vendors like Microsoft or Silect or others, or certainly management packs that we have developed within our own environment. When I create a new management pack in MP Studio, I have a couple of options. The first is this wizard-based approach, and I'll just go ahead and step through the first couple pages of our wizard where I'll name a new management pack. I'll save it to a folder I have access to in my store database. Webinar already exists because I did that earlier today. That's why. So let's call this, let's go back and call this webinar 2. It'll ask me which environment I want to creating the management pack for, whether it's Ops Manager, whether it's Windows, SNMP, Linux. Let's create an empty management pack. And in this very simple scenario, I'm going to create a management pack to discover and monitor our portal service. So the way I'm going to discover the portal service is using these wizards. I'm going to create a registry discovery. It's going to probe the system where we actually have that portal running. We're going to look for a registry key. In our case, it's simply going to be software Silect. So I'll browse that registry, find the entry that's going to identify the existence of the portal. You'll see as I step through these, I'm just going to click next, 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 because a lot of this information is pre-configured, and we sort of take a best guess at what some of these item names should be. The base class, Windows local application, I'll leave that. We'll enable the discovery. The target will be the Windows operating system. Again, I'm not making any changes to any of these fields. I'm just going to next, next, frequency, done. And so there's a class in discovery used to find the portal application. Let's create a monitor. Portal runs as a service, so I'm going to create a service monitor. Again, I'm going to probe that machine for a list of services that exist on that machine. Let's scroll down and find the Silect portal service. Target, we'll enable it. Default credentials, if its service is not running, it's going to create a warning message. I can generate an alert if I want to, and we're done. So there's a very, very simple management pack that we're going to go ahead and save. That's going to do the monitoring of discovery and monitoring of that portal service. When I hit save, you can see that's asking for some metadata related to this particular version of the management pack. So I can put in a description or a ticket number or what have you, and we can go ahead and save that management pack. Now, the other way we support authoring is through fragments. So I can also import a fragment. And I can use a fragment. Again, fragments is a chunk of XML representing a SCOM workflow. We include fragments from the community, people like Kevin Holman and others. And I can choose to use this packaged workflow to help me create, maybe in this case, I want to monitor the actual Windows process itself. I'll provide some parameter values for that process, the class, the process name, etc., and I'll import, and that fragment is now going to create a new monitor within MP Studio. As we're making these changes, I'm going to go ahead and save these changes that we just made. MP Studio and that version control system is going to detect the changes made. I can add comments. And if we now go back and look at that folder where I've saved this management pack, you see we have these multiple versions that we have access to. And we also have an audit history reported that's going to show me all the changes to that management pack over time. Now, one of the other key things we support is working with tuning management packs before deployment. So let's just take a quick example of managing, that MP lifecycle side. I'm going to open up, let's say, the Active Directory management pack. And here we can see the contents of that management pack. I can view the contents, monitors, et cetera, et cetera. So we scroll across, we see a lot of information here. I can sort that information. If I want to make any changes to this management pack prior to deployment, perhaps there's a number of monitors that I want to disable before we deploy this management pack, I can simply highlight one or more. In this case of those monitors, I can manage the overrides and I can make some changes to those monitors. Perhaps I want to disable those monitors or want to make some changes to it. So it makes it, MP Studio makes it very, very easy to be able to tune management packs before deployment, both with the analysis capability and the editing capability. And just the last thing as part of this overview of MP Studio to show you real quick is the migration assistant that allows you to very easily move from one SCOM environment to another. And this supports side-by-side migration. So if you're, in-place migrations, this isn't really a proper fit for that, although it can still help you understand what, a little bit more about the exercise of an in-place migration. But in this scenario, I'm going to go from a 2019 environment to a 2022 environment. We're going to choose which of the SCOM elements we want to include as part of our migration. And so why don't I just select all of these items just to show you what that looks like. The first thing MP Studio will do will analyze what management packs don't require migration. There's a couple reasons. This is a newer version already exists, or the same version exists on both management groups. Next, it'll tell us which management packs should be migrated, and I can choose one or more of these management packs. Custom roles can be migrated. Run as configurations can get migrated. Custom states, resolution states can be migrated. And just the last thing I wanted to show you as we skip through to the end, maintenance schedules, is the ability to also migrate agents. And in this scenario, we're going to double home those agents to that new management group. And that's going to assist with that overall migration exercise. And one of the things we do provide as well is we provide some ways of throttling the addition of these agents to the new SCOM environment, because as many of us know, if you kind of try and do too much with SCOM at the same time, it can get a little behind and a little overloaded. So you can actually throttle the addition of these agents to the new SCOM environment. And just the last thing to touch on, let's go ahead and quit that, is showing you the SCOM Explorer, which I believe I have running here already. And again, this is a great way of just finding out more information about your SCOM management group. So we've been working with store MPs. We can also work with MPs that are running in SCOM. And the SCOM Explorer allows us to really understand better our SCOM management group. It allows me to look for various objects within that management group. It allows me to see relationships between those objects. So if I look at this class as an example, I can show the instances that exist. I can show how it's discovered. I can show how these are referenced. And you can do that with any one of these other objects. We could spend an entire webinar event showing you the SCOM Explorer. And in fact, we have some videos on YouTube showing us exactly how that SCOM Explorer works. So I'd encourage you to take a look at that. So that's MP Studio, an overview. I've spent maybe a little bit too long on that, and apologies for that. Let me just give you a quick overview then of the Silect portal. I'm going to log into the Silect Operations Portal, which is really a companion product to MP Studio. you'll see that it leverages a lot of the same capabilities and technologies. Specifically that stored database, I still have the ability to author and edit and view management packs that are in that store database that we have. Now, in this case, I logged in as a user with fewer permissions. So I only have access to things that the administrator has given me access to. So for example, I'm just going to jump down and start a workflow report. So my role as a SQL administrator, I'm using the portal to understand better what's running on my SQL servers and help me maybe do some tuning of those SQL servers. That role definition is all handled in MP Studio. So if I look at the user admin, I have a stakeholder, a role, custom role, and I have this SQL user defined as in that custom role, and here I'm setting permissions on which folders and MPs that user is allowed to access. So here you can see they're allowed to access fragments, which is obviously necessary for authoring. In the sealed folder, they're only granted access to a handful of the sealed MPs, specifically the SQL MPs, and then they only have access to the SQL team folder in the store database. So their experience, if we flip back to the portal, when they're working with management packs, they're only seeing information from those particular folders. So here I've generated a workflow report on SQL Server. The scenario could be, let's say we've got this alert happening. CPU utilization is too high. I can use this workflow report to help find. Let's go ahead and look for that particular monitor. So something that contains CPU utilization. I'll see the workflows running on my server that include that CPU utilization. I can see information. I can see the fact that blue line represents an override, so I can see that this threshold has been moved from 90 down to 5, which is way too low. So I can go using the portal. I can open up that override management pack. I believe it's this guy, and I can go ahead and make a change to that override and then redeploy that override management pack. The benefit of making the change in the MP in the store database is that we now manage the change to that. We version stamp, we detect who made the change, and then we actually go ahead and make that change to the override and deploy it. Similarly, I can look at some other management packs here in the database. We can author additional management packs. I'm running a little behind schedule, so I'm sort of going to skip over that and simply show you some of the self-service features, including the ability for this user to be able to go in and look at and set up their own notifications. So I can add an address for this SQL user. I can say contact me via email. I can set a schedule for this. I can set up my own subscription for this particular address, so I can determine what criteria SCOM will use to notify me about certain events. So let's just say SQL DB error, and I can target a group or a class within that environment and add the criteria. Again, I'm not going to don't have a lot of time to be able to show you this, but the notifications and subscriptions can all be done using this self-service mode, as can maintenance schedules. So this particular user also has the ability to create maintenance schedules for groups that they have been granted access to using SCOM. And I guess last but not least, I'll just touch on the Silect Cloud that I had mentioned earlier. This is the preview of the service that we recently introduced that you can sign up for, that provides that authoring experience as well as that version control, analysis, and reporting capability. Okay, let's jump back to the slides and talk about one of the main reasons why we're here today, which is talk about the new features in MP Studio version 12, as well as in the Silect Portal version 2. So, one of the things when I started talking to customers about their use of MP Studio, one of the reoccurring things and feedback that came back was a need to help them understand management packs better and to help them to understand SCOM workflows better. So we're introducing some new Power BI visualization options to do both of those things, to better understand management packs and to better convey what's happening on a SCOM agent. We thought, since we're working with Power BI and we're including these new Power BI dashboards, why not include the Silect dashboards for SCOM that were previously available as a separate product, and let's make those available as part of the product as well. So now those dashboards are included at no additional cost within MP Studio. So all you existing customers, when you upgrade to version 12, you'll get those dashboards included with that download. And again, if you're new to MP Studio, new to Silect, I think you'll see those dashboards are a great addition to the product and provide a lot of good insight for you as a SCOM administrator or engineer to help you work with the SCOM environment. We've also added support for external XML editors. That was one of the other big pieces of feedback we had from customers, was to help them with their XML editing of management packs. And we've extended the Manage Multiple Overrides feature to support many more elements. And we're doing a much more consistent job of supporting manageable multiple things when you're editing management packs. And the list, there are more things in the what's new, but the last sort of highlight is authoring using this MPF file format. As I mentioned earlier, this is an intermediary file format for management packs that offers more of a workflow-based authoring experience. And we've made some additional ways of working with MPFs easier. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of those new features. What I'm going to show you first is, let's go back into MP Studio. And so within MP Studio, we've added the ability to register a Power BI service. And so here's the Power BI service that we have, and that's going to light up these Power BI features. And so if I go look at this workflow report, for example, this is a report that we saw in the portal. We have that same report available through MP Studio. So this is showing me all the SCOM workflows running on a SCOM agent. And you see now we have this view in Power BI option available for this SCOM workflow report. And what that's going to do is it's going to take this data set, it's going to upload it into the Power BI service. In our case, we're using the Power BI SaaS running within Azure. It's going to upload that data set and present it to us in this new visualization option. And so here we'll see this workflow. This is a workflow report on, I think, on a SQL server. So there are a lot of SCOM workflows running on that server. You can see there's a lot of overrides as well. And these are all filter panes. So I can click, if I'm only interested in looking at alert generating rules and monitors, I can click on this pane and see everything that generates alerts on that agent. If I want to drill down and find out specifically how an instance of an object is being monitored, for example, let's take a look at the CPU. I can click on it, see the monitors and rules that are applied to that discovered object, and then I can see the details about each of those monitors or rules. And so this is, again, a highly interactive dashboard that lets you filter and hopefully help you find exactly what it is you're looking for. Or let's say if you're troubleshooting an agent, to help you understand what's going on there. Similarly, for viewing management packs, this example, I had opened up this ADMP earlier. We now have this Power BI option enabled for that AD management pack or for any management pack that you're viewing. And it provides a similar experience in allowing you to interactively filter the view to help you understand what's there, understand how things are being monitored, and allow you to filter that view to be able to find perhaps something that you're specifically looking for. And so here are the targets defined in that management pack. If I want to look at how something is being monitored, let's say the DNS server, I can see in this case there's a couple monitors and a couple of rules defined that are monitoring that specific AD component, and I can see some details down here. And last but not least, before I hand things over to Mike to show us some of the MP editing capabilities, we've included our Power BI dashboards for SCOM in the package. So under the tools menu, and I think I have these running, we've got a couple of dashboards that we make available and include in the product. So these are, great examples of things that we're doing outside of the sort of traditional context of working with management packs. This SCOM Daily Checks was designed with the help of a customer of ours, and we walk through sort of what are the daily things they do to ensure SCOM is healthy. And these dashboards, you can see across the bottom, we've got a large set of dashboards here that help convey the overall health of SCOM, the activity levels of SCOM, and help you troubleshoot if there are some issues, or perhaps give you a heads up if there are some issues with SCOM. You can use these dashboards to help you find that out. And the other set of dashboards are more alert-based to give you information about alerts that are happening within your environment. So those are included now in MP Studio, and with some of the other things that we're doing and some of the other new features in MP Studio version 12, I'm going to turn things over to Mike.
And you should be able to hear me now.
I can hear you just fine.
Excellent, excellent. So I'll just share up my screen. So we're going to talk about three things here: support for external XML editors, the managing multiple overrides, and authoring using MPF. Now, support for external editors has always been one of those things that people have been asking for, like, as long as we've been doing this. And we had an internal XML editor that was useful. It was okay. It did a lot. It worked okay, but it was something that we built while working on all these other things, so we never had the time to dedicate to building a proper XML editor. It's not bad, but of course it could certainly be better. Well, an external XML tool, especially one that's specifically designed for XML editing, is going to be leaps and bounds ahead. So we've finally done that. We've added support, and we have documented support for using Notepad++, VS Code, Notepad, or any other editor. The control for this is through the Tools, Options, Support menu here, Editing. So here is the command to use. So this is the path to Notepad++, and this is the command line arguments to use. And we have documented this in the MP Studio User's Guide. There's a whole section on configuring the XML editor. I think it's around page 50. Basically goes through what it is you can do and how to do it. There's, again, the option setting, the parameters that you can use that will be replaced, the path of the source file, etc., some other stuff, so you can get some better displays here, and then some suggested settings. So for Notepad++, this is the one that's built in and would be used automatically if Notepad++ exists on your system. VS Code, that's Microsoft's Visual Studio Code. It's been very popular with a lot of people. And there's just an example of using something simple like Notepad. Just give it the path to the executable and the file name, and that's all you need. And the way this works is that when you do the XML editing, if an external XML editor is available, we take the XML for what you're currently trying to edit, write it to a temporary file, spawn the XML editor, passing in those command line arguments so it displays things, and then we watch that process to wait until it finishes. If the temporary file that we created has been updated, then we update the XML in the management pack, just as if you'd done it internally. So very quickly, this is just the viewer, but this is the same thing that we had for our built-in XML editor. If we edit using the external XML editor now, this brings up Notepad++, and here's the Notepad++ XML editing. As mentioned, you can use just about anything you want. Just to give an example here, we'll just disable that because it's a simple thing to do. There's easier ways to do this. I'm just going to save that file. And before I exit, I just want to show one thing here. In the background, MP Studio is running, and it's saying, waiting for the XML editor to save the file or exit. You can abandon that exit if you want to by clicking close. It does know that the file was updated, so the save button is there, so you can save that back. But normally you would just exit. You'd save and exit from the external XML editor, and we would detect it's finished. The changes have been made. We would update that. And here we'll see that enabled is false because we changed it. And you'll see the little star here in the tab. It knows that it's been updated. You can also use this for editing the entire management pack. This is useful when you have to make changes to multiple things. Like, let's say you're changing the name of a class and there's monitors that are using it, and you want to do both changes at the same time. You might edit the whole management pack. It can also be useful for working on information in the like the display strings here. Sometimes it's easier to do the editing there. I'm just going to abandon that because I really don't want to update that. I think you'll find that to be really useful. If you have a favorite editor and you have some good settings that you think would be something we should document, please let us know and we'll be glad to include that in future documentation. I've only used the stuff that basically is freeware. So let's look at manage multiple overrides. So we want to look, I'm just going to use a different MP here. So if we're editing overrides for a sealed management pack, I'm just looking at the monitors here. By the way, I've grouped and saved by target because frankly, that just makes this demonstration look better. We had previously two different dialogues that we used for editing overrides, managing overrides, excuse me. One was if a single element, that's rule, monitor, discovery, was enabled, or sorry, selected, and it provided a lot more capability. And then we had a separate dialog that was used if more than one of those elements was selected, and it didn't have all that same capability. So we wanted to bring them both up to par. So the single, when you're managing a single override, you're going to recognize this. It's pretty much the same as what you've seen before. I know there's some minor changes here, but nothing that should be of great surprise to you. We show the name of the single element, the display name, the description, all this, and all the usual stuff here. You can change the class that you're targeting or a group that you're targeting. You can add additional ones. You can add references. So none of that is terribly different. Where it's different is if we manage are doing multiple overrides. So in this case, I'm using 6 different monitors here. And you'll see that instead of just having a single name for a single monitor here, we now have a list of them. So we have the name, display name, and description here. The target class versus target group, the ad reference, all that stuff that was previously only available for the single override is now available for multiple. And so a lot more capabilities. You can do a lot of things easier. The number sign here, we've given each of the selected monitors in this case a number. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show this number column here shows, in this case, there are no overrides for that parameter on any of the selected. And in this case, all the selected overrides all the selected monitors have an override. I'm going to unselect 3 of these, and then I'm going to get rid of that override. It's going to save that. Now I'm going to select all of them again. And so what you'll see here now is it's saying that 3 out of 6. So out of the 6 monitors, only 3 of them have overrides for that parameter. It even tells you which ones. Only the following have overrides. That's numbers 4 through number 6. And this helps you ensure that the right monitors, the right overrides are available for the monitors. This will help you very quickly decide that you need to either delete them for 4 to 6 or add them for 1 through 3. So that capability, I think, is going to be very useful to people. Let me just see if there's any other points I wanted to make here. I think that's covers it fairly well. The last thing I wanted to look at here is MPFs. Now, MPFs have been around for a while, but we did have some changes, and I want to show some of the improvements we've made. So as Harold mentioned, an MPF file is basically just a list of fragments and their parameter values that will be applied to a base MP, so that when you build this, it basically compiles. It takes the base MP and applies all of the fragments. One of the changes we've made is that we now look at each fragment to see if it's defining a class. If it is, we keep track of all of those class names that are going to be created by the fragments. So for instance, this last one here, class and discovery registry key exists. This is one of Hellman's fragments, and it's going to create a fragment. Sorry, it's a fragment that's going to create a class named Silect fragment class test 6th class. And that class name is now available to other fragments. So this fragment is using 4th class, which is also defined in here. But when you look at the list of dropdowns, we now have 4th and 6th here. So previously, classes that were defined in one fragment couldn't be used in other fragments. Now they can. And because of that, we now keep track of those classes. When we build management packs, we can build include the fragments in the proper order. So fragments defining classes are included into the output management pack before fragments that use that class. So everything is done in the proper order. We do the same thing for deletes and other things like that. So I think that will make life a little easier for everyone. I think that pretty much covers what I wanted to talk about. Are there any questions out there that need answers, folks?
So just have a look at the chat window, Mike. I think there was a question that came in, but thanks for that that demonstration. So we're going to move on to talk about what's new in the Silect Operations Portal version 2, after which we'll describe to you the upgrade process and next steps. So in the Silect Portal version 2, we have, just as we've done in MP Studio, we've introduced those Power BI visualization options. Also included are those new Silect dashboards that I showed you earlier. And as well, we've improved, just like we did in MP Studio, we've improved the authoring experience using MPFs, which support that workflow-based authoring experience. We've expanded the support for editing management packs, so we now support editing properties of MP elements. And we also support instance overrides. So what I'll do is just give you a really quick look at what that looks like. So again, within the portal, I can open up a management pack for viewing. And let's go in. I think I'm still logged in as my SQL guy. So let's look at this is the big management pack, which is going to take a minute, but this is the SQL Server Windows Monitoring MP. And you see we now have this new visualize option available in this particular window. So we can open this up in Power BI. Again, same mechanism, same methodology we're using to upload this data set to the Power BI service, and then represent that data in that same dashboard that I showed you earlier within MP Studio. Similarly, as we wait for this to load, that agent workflow report that I showed you in MP Studio, the same capabilities exist within the Silect portal to be able to view that in a Power BI dashboard. And of course, I decided to pick the largest management pack that Microsoft produces with SQL monitoring and to do this visualization. And so here it comes. And so similarly, again, with workflow, that same visualize option is available when working with SCOM workflows. We've expanded the editing capabilities in the portal. So if I go and edit a management pack, let's say I edit, I don't know, Manage SQL. This is a very basic management pack that we authored using the portal. When I edit one of these elements, you see I can edit overrides for that particular element because it's a monitor, but we've also expanded that to include the ability to edit properties of these MP elements. So we're basically giving you more, allowing you to use the portal to address more scenarios when you're working with management packs. And similarly, we added support for instance overrides. So let's go ahead and open up. Let's open up that SQL management pack. Again, probably not the best choice because of the size of the management pack. But we're in the edit window, so we're only going to see elements which we are allowed to edit within this management pack. And if I go down and pick, let's say, a monitor related to a database, let's edit the overrides. You'll see that we have the option, it wants to save those overrides. We have the option now to apply these edits to a specific instance. And it looks like it's giving me database instances. So I can create an override for a specific instance of a class using the portal. The other thing to mention about the portal is the automation features. And so the portal has a full REST API. So if there are any scenarios where you want to interact with anything that we do in the portal, whether it's a management pack, a fragment, a maintenance schedule, notifications, we provide a full REST interface to all of those features. And in fact, everything we do in the portal is done through this REST API. So that's a great way to automate things within your environment. And in fact, I'm just going to take a minute to show you real quick just what that looks like. And so I do have some, you won't have to watch me type in the stuff. I've got some stuff that I'm just going to copy and paste over. And so we're going to be using PowerShell to, first of all, log in and get a token to the portal. So let's log in as administrator. And now we're authenticated. And so now I can run commands. I can leverage any of those REST API calls. For example, if I want to see folders in the store database, I can see, and if I do folders, I think .content will actually see the names of all the folders that exist in the store database. These calls, again, you can call any of the APIs that we make available through that Swagger interface to be able to easily interact with management packs, with overrides, with editing, with authoring, and with some of those other self-service features that I demonstrated. I should mention as well that cloud service that I talked about earlier also has a Swagger interface. So if you want to, use that service, which is again available free of charge, you can interact with the REST API that's accessible through the Silect cloud service as well. Okay, so let's flip back to talk about next steps and how you can get a hold of these releases. And so the big thing, the upgrade slide is very short, and we're very happy about that because there's not a lot to do. Obviously, we recommend backing up your environment before upgrading, but in-place upgrades are supported for both MP Studio and the Silect Operations Portal. There is a new optional prerequisite for both products, which is the WebView 2 component from Microsoft. So as you go through an upgrade, you will, if that WebView 2 component isn't present on the system where you are using, say, MP Studio, you will be asked to install that component, but it is an option. So if you don't want that component installed, you can deselect it. That will, however, make the Power BI features not available to you. So as for next steps for all of our customers, MP Studio and Portal release notices will be sent out after this event. So you'll get the links to download the bits, and you can begin your upgrade process, which we expect to be a very smooth and short operation. If you're not currently a customer and you're attending our event or listening to the recording, now is a great time to start a product evaluation where you can get your hands on all these features that we shared with you today and much more. And for the first time in probably about 5 years, we are offering some savings on the cost of the product until the end of the summer, our summer, August 31st. So now, again, it's a great time to take a look at either MP Studio or the portal. If you need any help during your upgrade or at any point along the way, you can email us at support@silect.com. And we're always keen to hear your feedback about the product, about the services we offer, about this webinar, about other events that we hold. And so please do send us your feedback. You can email me directly at harold@silect.com. We have some other, info@silect.com and general aliases as well. And so with that, I would like to thank everyone for attending today's event. We're very excited about these new releases, and we think you'll find a lot of value in those releases. I'm going to just take a quick look at the Q&A window to see, well, Mike, is there any questions that you would like to address, or anything else you'd like to share?
Stephen asked about checking XML when it's reloaded. Dan answered, and yes, we do check that. And Bill's asking about the REST API, whether it allows you to set or clear maintenance mode, and Jacob's answering that.
Great.
So I think that's everything.
Yeah, that's a great question, and Bill, that's some good feedback on maintenance mode setting. So okay, well, with that, if there are any other questions, we are going to just hang on the call for a few more minutes. Feel free to use that chat window to ask any questions that you may have about the products. And if not, thank you so much for your time, and we look forward to working with you.
Yes, thanks very much, everyone.